Page 34, Habanera from Carmen, or Habanera, or however you want to pronounce it. Carmen is an opera. This is a famous melody from an opera. At the top of the page, you're covering what's known as a chromatic scale. Remember I said earlier that a scale is simply a set pattern of whole steps and half steps. Well, in a chromatic scale, the pattern is all half steps. That's it. Using all the keys. And when they write it in music, when it goes up, they use sharps. And when it goes down, they use flats. In case you're wondering. And it's simple. Now, there's sort of a standard fingering. Actually, there's more than one. But in music, when you get a chromatic passage, and a passage is just a few notes that are chromatic, up or down, you'll finger the passage however you got to for the piece. And I don't actually cover chromatic scales. I don't have a video on chromatic scales. You see it with it's like a circle. And you say, okay, where does the circle start? Well, it doesn't. It's a circle. It could start anywhere. So chromatic scale is the same way. It uses all the keys, so it doesn't really have a starting point. Because you can start on any key and end on any key, and that's it. So I don't really cover it as a scale per se. Now the fingering for it, well, the fingering we learn first, the most common, is simply you're going to use 1 and 2 fingers, 1 and 2 on white keys. When you have the white keys next to each other, no black key in between, it's 1 and 2. And the third finger is going to play all the black keys. So let's just start, they start on middle C, that's fine. Here, so the third finger is going to play the black key. And the thumb is going to play all the white keys until I get to where I don't have a black key in between. So it's here, here, and the thumb again, third again, thumb again. Now I need second finger because if I do third finger here, I'm off here. So I need second finger so I can use third on the black keys. That's why it's 1 and 2 when there's no black key in between. And it's just the same thing. Here. Same thing going down. That's a chromatic scale. Left hand's the same thing. Same thing. Third finger plays the black keys. And the 1 and 2 plays the white keys when they're next to each other. That's what I encourage you to get good at. When you get the hands together, it's third fingers are playing together, but then when you get to these things, they're opposite. Here, see, it's second finger and thumb, and then thumb and second finger. As I said, you start on any key and end on any key. You can turn around on any key. It's like a circle. It doesn't really have a starting point. But that's the chromatic passage. Now, remember, when you get these in a piece of music, though, you'll finger it however you need to. And I'll talk about that as we go through there. Because I tend to alter the fingerings a little bit on a lot of these things. Not that you have to follow my fingerings. Of course you don't. You have to follow any fingerings. You do your own thing if you want. But I would encourage you to look at these other fingerings to broaden your fingering knowledge. Let's talk Habanera. 4/4 time. There's 3 flats in the key signature. We are in the key of C minor. Remember 3 flats. It's E flat major or C minor. Make sure you can do the scales, the E flat major scale and the C minor scale. I do have videos on those. This is in C minor. Right hand first. We need to look at this fingering and rhythm because we got triplets on here too. You remember triplets, 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1. It has a pickup measure, so we're coming in on beat 3 because there's only 2 beats. So you look around and say, okay, where's the other measure with 2 beats in it? Because every measure's got to have 4 beats in it. And when you have a pickup measure, I need the other beat somewhere else. And we look around and lo and behold, it ain't there. There's no other measure with just 2 beats in it. In my opinion, that's an error. It's incorrect. You know, there should be, or they need to add 2 beats of rest at the beginning. So there's 4 beats total someplace. It doesn't affect how we play it. We're coming in on beat 3. And they're saying 5th finger here. And if you just look at these notes in the first few measures here, forget the rhythm. Let's just say we got here, and we got a B natural, because there's a B flat in the key signature. We need a natural. And then we have a B flat. Remember that natural sign is only good for that measure. So in that first full measure, those are B flats. So we have 3 of these, 3 B flats, and they want 4th finger on the last one. That's okay. That puts our hand in position to go on. And then we have an A natural. Remember there's an A flat in the key signature, so we need an A natural. Now we want the A flat. And then 3rd finger, again for the G's, and then a G flat, and then here. That's a chromatic passage, all the way from the beginning to that E. We played it. The whole thing was a chromatic passage. They just added a rhythm to it, so they disguised it a little bit. And we didn't finger it like a chromatic passage. Could have, but again, in music we'll finger it as we need to. And I like the fingering they're using here. So it's here again. 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3. Because the A natural comes on beat 3. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3. Right? So the rhythm is there. So count out this rhythm very carefully. They put up arrows in between the staves. That points out where the beat is. Now this is a technique I use a lot in music anyway, except I draw a vertical line, it's not an arrow, and I draw above the staves because usually it's too busy in between the staves. So I try, and I'll draw a vertical line on each beat so I know where the beat is. I need to know where the beat is. And here they've done it in the middle with these up arrows. Up arrows are not part of the music. It's not a musical notation symbol you have to learn. It's just something this book has done. So again, 3 and 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And then we cross over to the E flat, 1 and 2 and 3 and. Again, piano players have to be able to go back and forth between triple and duple time all the time. We get it a lot, so you get good at it. 1 and a 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and a 2 and it's a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and 4 and 1 and a 2 and a 3. You just, at any time on any beat, you need to be able to switch from triple to duple, whatever. And here we do that. First beat is triple, 1 and a, and then a duple, 2 and. 1 and a 2, and make them all even. Don't go. No, it's got to be even. Like so. And then going on, you reach up, C again, and you do it again. 1. Now, second line, second measure. Now they want 5th finger. Don't have to, but that's good practice. Let's do this. Just crunch up a little bit, and you're ready. Don't try and leave the hand there and move it, you know. That's like a violin player when they're shifting. They don't scrunch up or anything. They just move the whole hand. In piano, we scrunch up and stretch out. So here, just scrunch up a little. So you're there. 1 and 2 and 3. 1 and... Then you have a rest, and you come way up 2 octaves high to the C. You're basically going to play the same thing again, only an octave higher. So forth, and use the same fingering as we did. Now when you get to the bottom, the last line, or the last measure, excuse me, at the last line too, here. You're ending here, and during the rest you just come up and you're from this position to this position. You're just an octave lower. So it's 1 and 2. You move on 2. like so. And then you get the three natural signs at the end. Well, isn't this fun? This is their way of telling you they're changing key signatures. The three natural signs erase or get rid of the three flat signs that were at the beginning. We're going into the key of C major. We've been in C minor. Now we're going into C major. They are parallel to each other. We call them parallel. When it has the same letter name, major and minor, same letter name, it's parallel. And when it has the same key signature, it's relative. They're related by key signature. Parallel means they start on the same notes. So when you get to the top of page 35, now we're in C major. Now they're E naturals. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3. Now here they want to thumb on that. It's like a C major scale. So it's 1 again, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2. 1 and 2. Reach down. We're going to do the same thing again, just up one key. Thumb, right there. And now thumb. This is the second line's last measure. 1 and 2, you're up on 2 because there's a rest, and during that you're going to move up. 1 and 2. 1 and 2. And here we go again. You're going to go from here to here. Same finger. I don't like that fingering, and I don't like. This is a fast piece, and a slower piece that works okay. But here it's dangerous. It really is. You only get half a beat to move, and the beats are flying by. So I would suggest on here, play it with the thumb and cross over third finger. This you have to be able to do eventually. You can practice that. It's called a tremolo exercise. I talk about it in the arpeggio videos. Here, so I said 1 and 2. This way we avoid this nasty move here. Like sometimes the notes and the fingering don't allow you to do this, but if it does, I encourage it. So here I encourage it because it does allow you. Here. Now you're just coming up a little bit. I think we can handle that. It's not very far. Just come up. But on the last line, first measure, same thing as the thumb. But come up here. Because this is quite a distance here to move that quickly. Just don't. Now in the last line, let's look at this. You're starting out here. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Now they want the thumb here on the F. Use fourth finger on the B. Just scrunch up a little bit. And here, you're sort of in that position. So it's there. The idea is we want thumb on the G because it makes it easier to reach the E. And we want to connect them. And then they're saying 2, that's okay, you scrunch up. And then a 2 here. So it's 1 and 2. So the last two measures here. You're here 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. It's back to the 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2. Oof. The fermata, I'll talk about that later. Left hand. Left hand just has the broken chords. At least we get some sanity in the left hand. So here, it's broken C minor chord. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. It's the 1 chord. The last measure of that line is the 4 chord. Or you can do it here if you got big hands. Whichever. And then in the second line, third measure, it's the 5/7 chord. That's pretty much it for the left hand for that page. Now when you get to page 35, it's the chords again, but now you're in C major. And the rhythms are different. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. But otherwise you're still using the 1, 4, 4, 5, 7, 1. Last measure, just come down. Now this is quite a, here, we're kind of stuck there though. And mean, you can use 2 and 1. That gets you closer. Rather than here to here, you're here to here. I'll leave that up to you. I'm just going to go ahead and here in the thumb. So the last measure is 1 and 2 and 3. Put the hands together. Okay. So you can see with the arrows how the notes in each staff line up. So you can see when they play together. These play together. And these play together. So it's rest. I don't want to play it all for you, but you're going to do the same thing again, but the right hand's an octave higher. On page 35, you're here. The rhythm in the left hand's different. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2. 1 and 2. At least there's no triplets here until you get to the bottom. Let's go down to the bottom. Last line, you're here. 1 and 2. Now remember, there is a rest here. So when I play the half note, the right hand, 1 and 2, that comes up. 1 and 2. Here, and then you're going to hang on to that fermata for a little bit. When I do this with a metronome, I'll just double it and hold it for 2 beats instead of 1. And then you go on. 4 and a, 4 and a, 1 and 2 and. That's sort of the fingering and the rhythm. You're moving around a little bit. The challenge is you work it out for each hand, and then when you go to put the hands together, nothing works anymore. Been there, done that all the time. You just work it out slowly. You go back one hand at a time again if you have to. You just take a passage at a time, just maybe a measure or 2 at a time, and you work out the notes and who plays when, where, and at the same time or not at the same time, and you just gradually work it out. But then when you get it worked out and you get rid of the hesitations, you go nice and slow, it's fine. But then we can add in the articulation because that just makes it more complicated. And they have staccatos all over where. I'm going to use a nice light wrist staccato here. And I'm on the key and I'm bouncing off the key. I'm not above it and hitting it. I'm on the key and bouncing off the key each time if I can. And if they're nothing marked, then connect them. See, I connect that. Those. Next to the last measure, where the triplet is there on the first line, I connect it all the way to the F. That curved line on the triplet, that's not a slur, that's part of the triplet indication. That's another thing that curved line is used for. You just gotta love it. It's a busy line, but it's not a slur, although we are gonna slur them together. So, and lift. You see the tenuto on the half note? Hang on to that. But lift up. We want silence between those. And we have an accent. They talk about the accents at the top of page 35. They talk about 3 of the 4 accents. They're saying the line, the tenuto line, is a small accent. Not everybody agrees with that. Long time ago, a couple hundred years ago and before, the tenuto line meant accent. And then over the years and over time, that gradually changed for a lot of people, not everybody. A lot of people, and tenuto line stopped meaning an accent. It meant hang on or linger on that note. Just hang on to it. Well, as I said, not everybody grabbed onto that idea. Now, a lot of pieces will use that symbol to indicate they want a little bit of stress on the note, but it's not a true accent. And they'll usually put it on the melody notes. So if you see a piece of music with notes all over and a few of them have these notes on them, that's probably the melody. So but here, this book says it's a small accent. I would call it more of a stress. Although in most music, not most music, in a lot of music, it wouldn't be either. It would just be linger on the note. So you have to take it on a case-by-case basis. What does it mean? Well, good luck figuring it out. It's fun. For this book, they want it to be a small accent. I'm just going to say stress. It's not really an accent. You land on the note, but not really hard. So over here where we were, the last measure, the first line on page 34, you're just going to, so just land on the note and then lift up, like so. Now going back to the top of page 35, now that I have you confused, let's keep it that way. Second symbol they give is the sideways arrow. They call a medium accent. I call it just an accent. That's just a normal accent. You give it a little more stress. Now a piano can't do a true accent because a true accent really only applies to the beginning of the note. So you would give the beginning of the note a little bit more volume and then the rest of the note is the same, just a regular note. We can't do that on piano. All we can do is play it a little louder and then the piano takes over and it gradually comes down. So it's just an accent. You play it a little louder. And then the last one, the upward arrow thingy-majigger, upside down V or whatever you want to call it, is called a marcato. They say it's a big accent. Well, what's big? It's a stronger accent than the sideways arrow. So you give it more stress. There's a fourth one they don't show, and that's called the sforzando. And that is the major accent. That's the biggest you can have. So you got different levels of accent. And they're all relative to however loud you are. So if you're playing soft, an accent is just a little, maybe a medium soft. And then the marcato, the bigger accent, is like medium loud, and sforzando would be loud. You have to take it on a case-by-case basis. It's not a hard and fast straight rule across everything. It doesn't work. Music just doesn't work that way. So here, look at the second line, last measure, you have the C. Both of them are accented, the sideways arrow. They're just an accent with a quarter rest afterwards. So it's 1, 2. I mean, you don't cut it short or anything. It's not staccato. You just give it a little extra. And then we do the staccato. And then in the third line, last measure, you get the tenuto line again. So a little stress on it. And then on page 35, you continue to get these accents until at the bottom, the last line and the last measure, the last note, you get the upward arrow. That's a louder one. It's boom. Now, in my opinion, that's an overkill because it's fortissimo here, which means very loud. You don't need an accent when it's very loud. It's already very loud. We don't have to kill it because it gets to a point on a piano where when you start getting loud, the sound gets harsh. We don't want a harsh sound. So in my opinion, it's nice for teaching that, oh, this is what it looks like, but when it's very loud, I would not have put any kind of an accent on those, just plain loud. Yeah. Dynamics with moderately, this is for the melody, which is in the right hand. Whatever you think moderately loud is, the left hand's soft. That makes this just a hair louder. And you're staying that way pretty much until the end of the third line. Now you're not going to stay exactly at that level. You can get a little louder and softer once you get to know it and feel the music. But then at the end of the third line, you're echoing that, you're soft. That means the left hand's very soft. And the accent at the last measure just takes that up to about a moderately soft. And now you're loud at the last of it. You have to decide what loud is. Don't get really loud, it's just loud. The left hand can come up a little bit, maybe moderately soft. And the accent's going to make that one note very loud. And the tenuto line, the first note on the second line, In my opinion, all you need is the natural accent here. You're going to feel it. You want to feel that 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. And that's, if you feel that, that's good enough. Now at the end of the second line, you go up to very loud. And now just loud a bit. See, just that part is very loud, and you don't need an accent at the beginning of the third line because you're already very loud. Just play those few notes very loud, and then come back down to loud. So. And again, very loud for those few notes, and then you come back down to loud. You're going to crescendo up to very loud, but I suggest you don't really crescendo until toward the end of the line. Land on that, and then now you're loud. Very loud, super duper loud, well, whatever. Keep the wrists flexible and soft on there. Don't tighten up and play with stiff wrists. I'm simply using a lot of weight. When I'm playing loud, I'm a boom, boom, boom. I'm just using a lot of weight on it, is all. Then we talk about the speed. Well, this is where fun and games start, if they haven't already. Vivace is very fast. It's faster than Allegro. Vivace, and it's the feel of it. You can find recordings of this. Go listen to look up the Habanera type and various recordings. Something like that. It needs to be accurate, it needs to be controlled, so you'll have to decide on this right hand how fast you can play that correctly. How fast can you play that accurately? And that is, you're going to be your vivace. It'll speed up over time, but don't push it. Just because somebody else played it fast, I gotta go this fast. No, you don't. You go your speed, and you can speed it up later. Now, obviously there's no pedal in this because it screws up all of the accents, although there are a few places you could use pedal if you wanted to, and that would be on the loud accented notes. I'd like to play this with you very slowly to double check the notes and the rhythms. I'm not going to do any dynamics. I'll try and do the accents, but the electronics I'm using levels out the volume, so I don't know if the accents will come out or not. So I'll give us 2 counts because we come in on beat 3, and let's just play it very slowly together. Ready, go. Rest. rest. Hold, rest, rest.